Okay, so it's been a little bit of time since the release of Secrets of the Obscure, and I have been diving into some of the new Weapon Master combinations. And one that I wanted to try was with the Reaper. Now, I have heard that the Conditioned Reaper was a thing, but I never really messed with it until I could shoot a damn pistol, and I was like, yeah, let me get into that.
But now you have my attention.
So let me tell you, Conditioned Reaper is actually amazing, and this is how I played it. So first with my build setup, I went with the standard pistol torch combination because, well, conditions literally everywhere. Technically, I could have gone with the scepter torch, but, you know, pew pew. The offset is a staff, and I really like using the staff just because I feel like it's a solid weapon, not only for the AoE fear, but it can apply a ton of different conditions in various places, and they all kind of act like a trap. So an enemy steps over it and then boom, they get hit with it. However, I will say that the pistol torch was my main setup, and specifically it applied a decent amount of conditions with pretty good crowd control, along with the torch, which can do more of the same. All of this being fairly straightforward. Now, pairing with this is the relic choice that we went, which is the Relic of the Aristocracy. It was easy to keep up its 5 stacks. Remember, this relic increases condition durations by 3%, stacking up 5 times when you apply weakness or vulnerability to the enemy. So with literally everything you see here. For skills, we look to find interesting ways to apply either weakness or vulnerability or chilling in this sense. The main build I focused with used Signet of Vampirism, Nothing Can Save You, You Are All Weaklings, Signet of Spite, and Chilled to the Bone. Each one of these either apply that vulnerability, weakness, or chilling. And now chilling is important with this build because every time we apply chilling to an enemy, it also inflicts bleeding to them. For our build, we simply ran Curses, Soul Reaping, and Reaper. Curses is 1, 3, 2, although you can swap out that last one with any of the choices and probably do well. I prefer Parasitic Contagion here for the passive healing from our conditions, but really the choice falls down to what you want. Soul Reaping, we went with 1, 1, 3, and again, although you could argue that Fear of Death, which would make the fear that you cause last longer and deal more damage. But I always like Soul Barbs just because a flat 10% damage increase going in and out of Shroud is just, it's always strong. And Reaper, I ran 2, 2, 2, with the most important skill being Deathly Chill, which inflicts bleeding when you chill an enemy. However, whenever you strike an enemy that is chilled, you also gain some life force, you also gain some might. Critical hits against an enemy that is chilled will also explode, chilling other nearby enemies, also inflicting more bleeding. The gear choice that I ran with was your standard Vipers and or Grieving. If you're on a budget, you could also run Carrion, but all in all, anything that can really improve condition damage is what we're looking for. The rune choice I'd recommend is Rune of the Afflicted, just because of all the different conditions you apply as a necromancer in general, but here as a reaper, you can apply a ton of them, and it's really just a blast to play. For the sigils, you have some choices, but of course I always recommend the Sigil of Bursting as a standby, and the offset one you could choose as either Frailty or Sigil of Ice. Frailty works well with this build as this can help you maintain stacks of your relic, or you could run Sigil of Ice for more bleeding and chilling. So all things considered, I thought this build was going to be a hodgepodge of random conditions and nothing being able to really lead into another.
90% of the time I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
I was seriously wrong. So for most fights, I was easily able to get and maintain a stack of 5 for my Relic of the Aristocracy, whilst also chilling enemies with a ton of different conditions. And I mean, they were ticking incredibly hard. Most of my bleeding stacks could get anywhere between 4,000 to 6,000 per tick, and then paired that with Burning and Torment from the other various weapon skills, not to mention condition damage from Fear, I was able to take down decently difficult champion level mobs with well, pretty well eased. I did run into some problems with healing, especially when I was in Reaper Shroud, which of course I could fix if I went with the Soul Eater trait for the Reaper line, but all in all, if I could maintain a safe distance while also DPSing, I was usually pretty good. Another short limitation that I ran into was utilizing You Are All Weakling, as in this build, it is our only stun break. So if I used it offensively to apply weakness, which is for our Relic of the Aristocracy, I may or may not have had it when I actually needed it if I got stunned or crowd controlled down the line. What really seemed to be overpowered was when I had laid out all the marks, put out all the conditions, and then popped Reaper Shroud and just ripped enemies to shreds. Like, seriously, I had a group of them in Cantha, and I just decimated the whole group with ease. It's such a satisfying feeling. Personally, I think this build functions amazingly as an open world PvE build that can handle just about everything, save for perhaps a few champion level or legendary bounties where I ran into some trouble. It provides an incredible amount of damage, and also keeps the Reaper relatively safe, honestly. And then it does allow them to charge into melee, deal some great condition damage, as well as being able to dish out some good strike damage as well, not to be slept on here. The best part about the Conditioned Reaper is that it doesn't really require a crazy amount of planning or skill calculation. Mostly it's a spam fest and you can do a ton of work. Now, you could sub out the staff for perhaps a greatsword if you want to still fit the aesthetic of a Reaper, but I always think that the staff is just a great choice. All in all, I had a blast with this build. Something about the Reaper applying a ton of conditions and blasting enemies that's just feels right. Nice. You know? Aside from the short sights with either sustain or stun breaks, this build is a simple pick up and blast away and had an incredibly easy learning curve with fantastic effect. 10 for 10 would recommend for fun. If you are interested in role-playing as a wizard, check out my favorite Elementalist build after the Secrets of the Obscure release. Otherwise, stay caffeinated, folks.